This is the second question in the higher homework, and it's going to involve us at the end sketching a curve, where first of all what we're going to have to do is find the coordinates of the stationary points on the curve, determine their nature, we'll find where the curve meets the coordinate axes, and then from that information we'll be able to sketch the curve. Okay, so this will involve differentiation. So what we'll do is we'll start off with the equation of the curve, and we'll go ahead and differentiate that. So I've got y equals 3x squared minus x cubed. Right, then let's start differentiating it. So dy by dx is equal to 6x, and I've got minus 3x squared. Okay. Right, from there what I'm going to say is that I know that for stationary points, dy by dx is going to be equal to 0. Okay, so I've got 0 at this side equals 6x minus 3x squared. What I'll do is I'll factorise this right hand side. I'll take out a common factor first of all, so I can take out from both of these, I can take out 3x. That would leave me with 2 minus x. Okay, from there I'm going to get two values coming out. So from here I've got 3x equals 0. So x equals 0, and straight from here I've got 2 minus x equals 0, 2 equals x, so x equals 2. So there's some coordinates that I've got coming out here already. There we go, just move it up. Right, to find my y coordinates for the stationary points, I'll substitute the x values into the equation that I've been given at the start. So I've got y of 0, and I've got 3 times 0 squared minus 0 cubed. That gives me 0 minus 0, gives me basically 0 coming out. So there's my first stationary point that I've got there, and this first stationary point is 0, 0. I'll then move across to the other side, and I've got x is equal to 2. So if I find my y coordinate when x equals 2, I'll substitute it into the main equation that I've been given. I'll work that through, so that will be 2 squared is 4, 4 times 3 is 12, and I'm going to subtract from that 2 cubed, which will be 8, so that should give me a y value of 4. So that gives me the other stationary point that I've got, and that's going to be 2 for my x coordinate, 4 for my y coordinate. Good, so that's me got that done. To determine their nature, let's make up a nature table. So nature table. Along from here, so on the top I'm going to have some x values. Okay, so I've got x values here, and what I've got is the point 0, so I'll put a 0 in about here. I'll put the 2 for the other point here, and what I'm interested in is a point that leads up to 0. So the curve is coming along towards 0. A number before that, I could choose a minus 1. A number after 0 but before 2, let's choose the number 1. So there's another value I've got. And then when the curve goes beyond 2, if I use a value of 3 to calculate what the slope is like at that point there. Okay. Right, so what I'm going to do also is I'm going to, on my nature table, I'm going to be looking at dy by dx. Dy by dx, okay. So I've got some options. If I look up above, what I can do is I can use that formula there and substitute my values in. I could use this formula here. I'm going to use this one here. Okay, they're all the same. That's the same formula, just factorised out. This is the one I'm going to use here. Okay, just for me it makes it a bit easier. So what I've got is I've got 3x and we've got 2 minus x. So I know that where x is equal to 0, the gradient equals 0 because I started off by saying that. That's how I found that point, and the same with the point of x equals 2. That's the way I found the x equals 2. Now going back to, let's go to 1 first of all, okay, and work this one out. So if I look at what my dy by dx, or my gradient formula is, I've got 3 times x, so that'll be 3 times 1, which will be 3. And on the inside of the bracket, I've got 2 minus x, so 2 minus 1 is just going to be 1. 3 times 1 is equal to 3, that's positive. So that's a positive value that I've got there. If I go along to the 3, I've got 3 times 3 when I use the dy with dx formula. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then 2 minus 3 is going to be minus 1. So that's going to give me a value of minus 9, and I know that's a negative value that's there. If I use a minus 1, so 3 times minus 1 will give me minus 3, and I'm going to multiply that by 2 minus minus 1, so that'll give me a positive 3 there. So if I multiply them out, I get minus 9. So what I have here is a negative as well, okay? Right, so that's me got basically the shape of the graph that I'm going to have to draw or sketch. Here we'll see the shape. So from the shape of the graph, I see it's negative here, flat here, so negative, flat. In between the 0 and the 2, it's positive, so the gradient's positive. It's then flat, and then after that, it's negative. So there's the shape of my graph. So what I have here is a minimum turning at the bottom. It's a minimum turning point at 0, 0. Just need to make sure I grab the right coordinates. I can see the x coordinate 0, so it's this one here. And I've got a maximum turning point at, and that's the coordinate of x is 2, and it's the 4 that's associated with that, at 2, 4. Okay, that's good then. So that's me, I know the shape of the graph, I know where my turning points are. I now just need to look at part B and work out the points where the graph crosses the x and y axes. Okay, so that'll be for part B. Right, so I know that if I'm trying to find out the x and y intercepts, so if I let x equal 0, I'll find the y-intercept. So I'm going to substitute a 0 in where x is, so that'll be 3 times 0 squared minus 0 cubed. Well, that's going to give me an answer of 0. So there's my first axis intercept, 0, 0. So that's similar to a stationary point, so that'll be something I'll need to bear in mind when I sketch the curve. If I let y equal 0, then I'll find my x-intercept, or intercepts if there's more than one of them. Okay. So what I've got is I've got 0 at this side, so I'll write the equation first. Y equals 3x squared minus x cubed. I'm going to substitute 0 there and try to find out what my x values are going to be. Right, so if I look at this and try to factorise, so what I can do is I can take out x squared between these two terms here. So if I've got an x squared coming out, what I'm left with here is 3, and I've got an x in that one there. So x squared, and that's going to be minus x squared, and in the other bracket it's 3 minus x. So I'm going to get two solutions coming out of here. So I've got x squared equals 0, so x equals 0. So for this point here, x is 0 when I said that y was 0. That's similar to a couple of points I've already worked out. From here, I've got 3 minus x equals 0. So 3 equals, I'm going to take the x over to that side. If it's a negative there, it'll be a positive on that side. So x equals 3. So when x equals 3, I said that y was 0. So there's the coordinates I've got. So I've got all the information that I need to sketch the graph. Okay, so I'll then just go and sketch the graph. I'll just think about the coordinates that I've got. I've got 0, 0, I've got a turning point there. It's going to have a maximum turning point, so it's going to go up to 4. And in the y direction, so I'll just sketch that then, okay? So using the coordinates that I've got, I'll sketch it down in this corner here. Right, okay, so first thing, let's draw our y coordinates. So from there, just do a line. Let's go for starting here. I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll go up to about 8. That would probably fit this graph. Okay. And what I'll do here is I'll get my x coordinates along this way. Okay. And that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8. I'll go back the way as well, maybe a couple of points. and I'll also go down as well, so I'll go down a couple of places as well. Okay, so that's me set up my axes. So I've got my x coordinates in this direction, y coordinates, so I'm going up the way. Right, so first thing I know is I've got my stationary point. So I've got a stationary point at 0, 0 that I already said was a minimum. So there's 0, 0 here. So I'll just make a blob there. And that's the point 0, 0. I know that it's a minimum, so I know that this graph is going to be turning that way there. So I can draw just a wee turn in there like that. I know that I've got a maximum turning point at 2, 4. So if I go along 2 places and I go up 4 places, then here what I've got is a maximum turning point. So I know that that graph must turn that way there like that. And that's at the coordinates 2, 4. Okay. Right, other points that I've got with the intercepts. Well, I know that I've got 0, 0 is where it cuts through the x and the y-axis. So that's that point there that I've already put in. And the last one I've got is 3, 0. So if I go along 3, 0, that's that point there, okay? So that point is 3, 0, okay? Just put a 3 in there. Okay, so all that's left is for me to sketch the graph now. So I can just go ahead and sketch it like that, or I can try and work out where some other values are. So if I was to work out when x is equal to -1, so I'll just say that y, when it's -1, I'll go for putting that into the equation, -1 squared, -1 cubed. So that'll give me 1, that'll give me a 3. So 3, and then I'm going to go for, that's going to be -1, so that'll be a +1. So that gives me 4. So that tells me I've got a coordinate there. That might help me just draw the graph. Not critical, but that would tell me that I know this graph's quite steep and it's going to go through a point up there. So that's just a wee extra point that I've got. So that would be -1, 4. Okay, so that lets me know that the graph's coming down. So coming down in this direction here, it's going to hit this minimum turning point and it's going to turn. It's going to go up here and join this maximum turning point. There it goes there. And then it's going to come here and it's going to go through this x equals 3 and down to there. So that would be my graph sketched. That would be all I would need to do. And hopefully I'm getting full marks for this type of question here. Okay. So if I look at some marks for this one, then what we could be getting is, right, we could get a mark for differentiating. So that'd be 1 mark that's there. We'll get a mark for factorising here. I'll get a mark for setting it equal to 0. I'll get a mark for getting my x coordinates and 1 for getting my y coordinates together. Okay, so possibly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 marks that's there. 1 mark for setting up my nature table correctly. I've set up my nature table, and 1 mark for getting the statement that's there. Minimum turning point at 0, 0, maximum at that's 2, 4. Okay. I'll then go into this side here. So for getting my x, my x and y intercept there and there, I'll get 2 marks. Okay. I'm going to get 2 marks for drawing the curve. So I've got 1 mark for drawing the correct shape of curve and 1 for correctly putting in the coordinates that are there. Okay. So looking possibly at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10, 11, possibly 11 marks for this question here. So again, this type of question here, if it was me and I was sitting in an exam, I would make sure I can do this type of this question. I can do it reasonably quickly. I would expect that you would see this type of thing in your exam, your prelim, or any tests that you're given. Okay, so good luck with the rest of the work.